Thank you for listening to the Gateway to the Rockies podcast from Visit Aurora from the rafters of the Stanley Marketplace. This is the show dedicated to telling the stories of Aurora, Colorado. Hi there, I'm Dave, the Director of Marketing for Visit Aurora. Arts and culture aren't just nice for a city to have. They're a powerful economic engine, a talent magnet, and a defining part of what makes a city thrive. I'm thrilled to be joined by Meredith Badler, Deputy Director of the Colorado Business Committee for the Arts, to talk about the real impact of creativity on our communities. Meredith, so good to see you.
It's great to see you. It's great to be here at Stanley Marketplace, and I'm excited to talk about arts and culture in Aurora and beyond.
I want to dig into that, but first I want to talk about your performance years. I want to talk about you're a trained improviser.
I am.
Has improv ever helped you survive a tough meeting or an unexpected challenge in your professional life? How do those skills translate?
David, every single day.
Yeah.
Every single day, I thank my parents for the many summers at theater camp and improv classes and my community here in the metro area. Every single day, I use my theater training, my performance training, being able to think on my feet, think critically, collaborate, interact with people in exciting ways, not be afraid with a microphone in front of my face.
Right.
I can't say enough about how having early exposure to arts, culture, and the opportunity to be creative as a young person has directly led to where I am today, and where I think people end up even if they're not working in the arts. We have the pleasure at the CBCA to work with people across the business community, and I often talk to lawyers who were musicians, bankers that did theater, and that's still a personal passion for them and something that, again, they can attribute to their professional success.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit about that when it comes to building a young person's self-confidence and also a sense of community?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what engaging in arts, culture, and creativity does as a creator, as a performer, as an artist, as a young person, being able to learn how to express yourself, learn that you have a voice and what that voice has to say, and that other people have a voice and that you can work together with them. That's teamwork, that's collaboration, that's problem solving, but also being exposed to arts and culture as a young person, even as an audience member, as a viewer, expands our horizons, teaches us about other people's voices, about our culture, about our history, about the places we live, like Aurora. So yeah, I really just can't say enough about the importance of engaging people at all ages in culture and creativity. I'm
going to put you on the spot just a little bit here.
Great.
But do you have a moment of serendipity, or as Bob Ross would say, like a happy accident where you were on stage and just something, there was a moment of clarity or a moment where just the synergy synced up and you just felt like in flow state?
Oh my gosh. Well, I feel like most of improv theater is a matter of flow state.
Yeah.
I mean, I have lots of memories of that. That's the thing about improv. It's all about discovery. So I remember being on stage and realizing I was fidgeting with my finger and realized I was fidgeting with my ring finger on my left hand and suddenly decided, oh, my character just got divorced.
Gotcha.
And so those kinds of things of like, and then that took our scene in an entirely exciting direction, and my scene partner could build off of that. So it's those moments and that level of observation and curiosity, again, that applies in all fields, but also is what makes particularly live theater really special.
Staying in the moment.
Yeah.
You've spent more than a decade at CBCA. What originally drew you to the intersection of arts and business and advocacy?
Yes, great question. Yeah, I have been lucky to be at the Colorado Business Committee for the Arts, the CBCA, for over 12 years. And really, there are a lot of things that drew me to it. The research we do, the advocacy work we do, the training and board development we provide. I had been doing a lot of that as a consultant, and then was really excited about the opportunity to actually sort of be in the field instead of outside the field. But the thing that keeps me at CBCA is that breadth breadth that we get to work with all of the creative industries, for-profit, nonprofit, individual creators, film, music, visual arts, theater, dance, opera, design, etc. And then the breadth of our business and our civic community. So from small design firms to large national banks, law firms, insurance companies, in now getting to do some work with our state and federal government, advocating for the arts. Every day is different. Every hour is different. And I can't ask for anything better than that.
I mean, your background spans nonprofit strategy, theater, improv, comedy, obviously, as we touched on a little bit. How does that unique perspective for you kind of shape the way that you approach, not only leadership, but collaboration and advocacy for the creative economy?
Yeah, I think it takes a lot of empathy. It takes a lot of understanding that people are coming from different backgrounds themselves, different industries. They all have something to gain and something to benefit from working with CBCA. So my job is often trying to figure out where those intersections are and really where are those areas of mutual benefit. That's really the driving force behind our mission at CBCA. Our tagline is arts for business, business for arts. Not one is more important than the other. They both work together. And that's the joy we get to bring is finding those mutual benefits where 1 + 1 is 150.
CBCA's latest economic activity study of Metro Denver culture, that was a big deal.
Yes.
First off, what was the goal of the study initially, and maybe some of the most important takeaways that we should know about?
Great question. So CBCA has actually been doing this study for over 30 years. Okay. Our economic activity study of Metro Denver culture, the first one came out in 1993, and we've been doing it roughly every other year since then. And really in alignment with the SCFD, the Scientific and Cultural Facilities District. That was approved by the voters initially in the late 80s. So again, our first study came out when it was just 4 or 5 years old for us to start talking about, okay, we are now paying a 0.01% sales tax to support arts and culture. What's the ROI on that? And over the last 30 plus years, that investment and that return on that investment has been tremendous. And so our study really helps put into for lack of a better word, business terms, those quantifiable economic results.
KPI.
Exactly. Back to our business leaders, our policymakers, as well as us as voters who have to every 15 years or so reauthorize this tax to talk about just the impact that it's having on our economy, as well as us as residents in the district.
Was there anything surprising that came out of the study? Obviously, you've been doing this ongoing for the last 30 years, but is there anything that came out of it for you that was eye-opening?
Yeah, that's a great question, David. So our latest study came out in November 2025, and it looked at the calendar year 2024 and just those cultural organizations, about 300 of them that are funded by the SCFD. And because we do this study every other year, we are able to track back how did we do in 2024 compared to 2022, compared to 2019 before the pandemic. So a lot of what we were looking at was sort of what's the new normal, what has bounced back, what hasn't. So there were a number of things that were interesting. I can't say they were super surprising because CBCA works in this field all day, every day, that we saw some of this coming. We were really excited to see, our overall economic activity number continue to reach a new high at crested this over $3 billion in total economic activity, a new high watermark, record-breaking economic impact from cultural tourism, which I'm sure we'll talk about, high levels of jobs. Some of the metrics we're still seeing experience some volatility are around attendance and contributions to the arts. So it wasn't necessarily surprising, but things that are still calls to action opportunities for us to maybe step up as residents of the district, as visitors to the district, as lovers and supporters of arts and culture, different ways that we can continue to make sure this sector stays strong.
Yeah, it's one thing to get this very important bevy of information. It's another to apply it.
Yeah.
It's another to say, what does this mean? Right. What is trivia? And yeah, what are the call to actions? How do you use these studies to approach elected officials and destination marketers like me and people in the community to say, here's how we make smarter decisions about investment and growth?
Yeah. That is a great question. I mean, the key audience for this study are those policymakers, and on a municipal level, on a regional level, and on a state level. Often we are talking about funding. So looking at where state funding has grown or not, contributions from foundations or corporations. For example, giving from in the form of corporate sponsorships continues to be one of the smallest categories relative to other funding sources. Or cultural organizations, by and large, are getting significantly more from individual donors, from state and local government, from foundations, from the SCFD, obviously. So there's a real call to action to our business community. If you want to continue to have your employees and your customers live in a vibrant place, this is an opportunity to step up. When we talk to elected officials, often we're talking about funding, but also other levers that they control around permitting or affordability, or again, transportation, making it easier to get to these places. So there's a lot that indirectly feeds into our ability to have access to equitable arts and culture in our communities.
When we talk about arts and culture as an economic driver, what does that mean to the residents, to the neighborhoods, to the workforce development, and the overall quality of life?
It's a great question. We often talk about economic activity as a ripple effect. So when you think about when you go see a performance at the Aurora Fox or at the Vintage, or go see the Aurora Symphony or the Aurora Singers, when you're making that very smart decision to participate in one of those organizations, you're often, maybe you're buying a ticket, maybe you're buying a subscription. That's great. But that's not where it ends. You have to put gas in your car. Maybe you have to pay for parking. Maybe you're going out for dinner at the wonderful Stanley Marketplace before the show. And then you're going out afterwards because it was so great. And then you're paying a babysitter. Maybe you have out-of-town guests that are visiting and you go, oh my God, I don't know what to do with them. So I'm going to take them to an exhibit or a performance. And suddenly you are spending a lot more in the region, and usually within a few miles of where that cultural event is happening. And that's that ripple effect. Every ticket sale, every admission, every arts and culture activation or engagement has that economic ripple effect in the local community. And that also happens on the organizational side. These are nonprofits, sure, but they're also businesses, and they're also hiring in employees. They're working with local vendors. They're keeping their lights on. And because of that, because they are major employers and businesses in your neighborhood, they are also part of that economic ripple effect. So that's really what we talk about, and how important that is to keep fueling things locally.
Without getting too deep into how the sausage is made, how do you connect those dots for folks? Because it's difficult to do a one-on-one ROI when, somebody may be going to dinner at the Stanley Marketplace, so to speak, and that's tied directly to a performance at the Vintage Theater. It's difficult to connect those dots directly, or is it?
I haven't found it that hard to connect it. I mean, this data is one way to do it in a very quantitative way, to see that $3.12 billion in economic activity, and to know that you as a cultural consumer are part of that. I think our local organizations also do a good job. We see a lot of cross-promotion and partnership. Again, I think that's an opportunity for our DMOs, for our local businesses to better highlight those partnerships. That's one of the reasons why we do our annual Business for the Arts Awards, to really highlight local companies who are partnering with the arts, who are promoting the arts in a variety of ways, of really uplifting them as models for others to emulate. And those are some of the ways that I think we've found success.
And I asked that question to speak on how we do it here as a destination marketing organization is, we use anonymized cell phone data to find out where people are visiting. And we use credit card spend information to know, like, okay, there was an event this day and we saw a higher level of traffic to this facility and we saw that they spent money at these restaurants. And then it becomes storytelling, which is a lot of what the arts is anyway. You're just doing it from a different perspective. Kind of.
Yeah.
To a different
absolutely.
audience.
And when you put it that way, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't we pair arts and business together? Because we know it makes our lives healthier, happier, safer, and it makes our communities better places to live, work, and create.
Several Aurora-based organizations were recently honored through your CBCA's Business for the Arts Awards. First off, what's your impression of the arts community in Aurora broadly and how it lends itself to be a cultural asset and, of course, an economic engine?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the cultural community here in Aurora. I have been a member of the Arts and Business Connection Committee at the Aurora Chamber for many years. I present to them every year and attend several of their meetings. And through the Chamber, I've actually gotten to meet several different organizations here in Aurora. It's in many ways, Aurora is vast and diverse. There isn't always like a centralized place, the way there is now the wonderful downtown Aurora Creative Arts District that has a high concentration. I think Aurora's cultural scene really embraces the diversity of the residents here. That with dance organizations and performing arts organizations and visual arts organizations are really making arts and culture accessible for the diversity of Aurora's residents. And it's a scrappy community. Yeah. I have also noticed that of, how can we do more with less sometimes, or how can we be a place for incubation? I think of the fringe festivals and experimental performances that happen at the People's Building. I mean, honestly, I think some of the coolest and most cutting edge arts activities are happening in Aurora, as well as some of the most culturally diverse.
I think you nailed it. I mean, it's diverse, it's accessible, it's also emerging. This is a market that is growing and the opportunities seem boundless right now. Is that a fair assessment?
I think that is exactly right. And is frankly really exciting.
Yeah. Honorees of the CBCA's Business for the Arts Awards include the People's Building, on Havana Street, Jubilee Coffee, the Aurora Highlands, all of which reflect very different parts of the city. I mean, 163 square miles. They're all leveraging arts and culture in their own unique way, but what do they have in common in your view?
I think they have a real tie to this place, a real love of Aurora, and that sort of opportunity to be emerging, the opportunity to be innovative, the opportunity to not say this is how we've always done it, but let's try something new. And I think all of those honorees really understand that connection to the local economy as well. That by making those investments, by engaging with neighboring businesses or in the case of the Aurora Highlands, internationally known artists, what that means for them financially, for their employees, for their community at large, and really viewing the arts as a multiplier.
For those who are visiting Aurora, or even residents who might not immediately think of Aurora as an arts destination, what's happening here that you think they might be overlooking?
I would encourage people, whether they're visitors or residents of Aurora, to try something new. Yeah. I think we all get kind of stuck in the familiar name, whether that's an individual artist or a play we've heard of before or a piece of music we've heard of before. Back to what we were talking about earlier about the importance of arts exposure for young people, I think people attend something that you've never heard of before, that maybe is stretching your own boundaries, that maybe seems experimental, or that you've just never tried. Maybe you've just never been to the Aurora Symphony because you don't think you like classical music. But seeing it in your hometown in a more accessible way, maybe it's a piece of music that intrigues you in some way, to just get out and try. I think we all get stuck in what's familiar. It just feels harder than it used to get out there. You know, when we rolled out our economic activity study, one of our panelists made the comment about sort of attendance was, in the past, we used to be in competition with other leisure activities. You know, do I participate in the arts, or do I go for a hike, or do I go skiing, or to go to a sporting events? What we're seeing a lot now is competition with the couch. Of just staying home.
Or your device.
Or your device. So, you know, I don't know what it is, but get out there and try something new and make that little extra effort. It's not that much more. We've done it many times, and I promise it'll pay back.
You've touched on getting the corporate dollars, appealing to businesses. You know, art is smart for business, as you say. What's your argument? What's your elevator pitch to CEOs or developers who may not have made that connection yet?
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes back to that multidimensional ROI. That's often what you have to talk about when you are talking to the business community. And there are few things in our world that have such a really multifaceted ROI as investing in arts and culture. As we've mentioned, there's an economic case of what that brings to our community by making sure we have vibrant arts and cultural opportunities. That has an economic ripple effect. That's obviously going to benefit your customers, the place where your business is located, your brand. I think there's an opportunity internal for an ROI as well. Engaging with arts and culture has a benefit back to your employees. Often they are living and working near your office or where you're doing business. It gives them a chance to feel seen, to feel represented, to feel valued. And then all of those wonderful aspects of arts and culture that I think we take for granted. You know, at the CBCA, we talk a lot about this economic impact. We talk a lot about the social impact, but we also can't lose the fact that art brings beauty, that art is our history, it's our culture. And I don't know how we quantify or make a report about the impact of beauty in our life, but we know that it is there. We know that it is important. So again, it's hard to find other benefits that touch on so many aspects of our daily lives in very quantifiable ways and in very emotional ways.
It's an integral part of this human experience, right?
Absolutely.
You'll be speaking at the Aurora Chamber's Arts and Business Connection Committee meeting on February 3rd. What kind of conversations are you hoping to spark with the business community?
You know, I love when I get to present to this group because it attracts such a diverse mix of chamber members, whether that's higher education or insurance brokers or fellow cultural organizations. And what often happens at that meeting is I'm flooded with business cards of people who now have opportunities for partnerships I have interns that I could get involved in this way, or I could give a presentation to artists about the business skills that I offer, or as a cultural organization, I never realized I could form this partnership with the business across the street on the night that we do a performance to make it a better experience for our audience members. So there's always a lot of sort of cross-promotion, cross-collaboration that happens around that table, and a lot of ahas. I find that it's often just really validating, particularly for the cultural organizations that are busy, head down, doing this work day to day. to see themselves valued in these numbers, to see the jobs that they're helping create and foster, the economic activity that they are generating, the huge amount of educational opportunities that they're providing, and that they are part of this ecosystem, that they are valued. And again, that here are some numbers to prove what you already knew.
Right.
And here they are, so you can use them in your own case making.
Some validation for sure. If there's a small or mid-sized business that wants to start engaging in the arts, but they don't quite know how to begin, what would be your advice?
Yeah, well, they can always call me. I'm happy to chat.
Nice.
I think looking at our past Business for the Arts Awards honorees is actually a great starting point. We make videos about all of them. So there are people from, small pizza shops and Jubilee coffee roasters, all the way up to large national companies. And I think the other piece of advice is, money is great. Sponsorship is great. Grants are great. Please keep writing those checks. But there are so many more ways in addition to that businesses can partner with the arts, and to think about the resources they have available, whether that's cross-branding, whether that's opening up a corner of their space for arts and culture, whether that's various promotional activities, employee volunteer opportunities. There's a lot of other resources that businesses have aside from dollars that they may not realize could be an opportunity for partnership. And the other thing I'll mention is to ask your local artists and cultural organizations, who is in your neighborhood, who is around, what do they need?
Right.
Making sure, again, it is a mutual benefit. Maybe that's first. Do that first. Ask those cultural organizations, ask the artists in your network what would benefit them, and how can you work together to achieve some shared goals.
Advocacy, huge part of your role. What does effective arts advocacy look like right now on the state and federal level, and what, frankly, is a challenging time?
Yes. On a state level, we're aware of some of the challenges at the General Assembly related to our state budget. I think opportunities for additional funding for the arts are going to be limited in the near future. Not impossible, but limited. And again, opportunities to think creatively. CBCA had some big success at the legislature in 2024, getting community revitalization tax credits to support capital projects in the arts across the state, as well as some additional funding for our state arts agency. We actually got them their first budget increase in over a decade, which was amazing, as well as a little bit of funding for the Creative District program. So that was great. But again, that was in 2024 in a slightly different state budget climate. Some of the work CBCA is doing at the legislature this coming year is really about arts education. We just published a policy briefing paper about arts education in Colorado. So that's an area that we are having focus right now, as well as finding opportunities for collaborative work. So there could be bills coming up that relate to, again, transportation or housing or other community development opportunities, tourism, where maybe arts and culture aren't leading that, but can benefit from related opportunities. On a federal level, we are really keeping a close eye of what's happening at the National Endowment for the Arts, the National Endowment for the Humanities, the Institute for Museum and Library Sciences, and just tracking how we can continue those cultural agencies, giving them as much latitude and funding support as possible. And the ways, if people are interested in engaging with that work, CBCA manages a platform called the Colorado Arts Action Network. It's a grassroots mobilization technology platform hosted through our website. So you can just look for the Colorado Arts Action Network, sign up with your name, your email, and your zip code. And the zip code is really important because the Arts Action Network is how we communicate policy updates, what we're working on, those research reports I mentioned, when we have a bill that we're running in the legislature, or if there's an opportunity at a federal level, because it's tied to your zip code. If there's an opportunity to lend your voice, to share a message, to voice support or opposition to something, that makes sure it goes directly to your legislator. So whoever represents your specific House district or Senate district on the state level as well as the federal level, those legislators want to hear from their constituents, their voters. And so this platform makes it very easy to lend your voice, to advocate for the arts, and to do it in a really targeted way.
How do you enjoy the arts? What are your go-tos?
Well, obviously I have a theater background, which I love and continue to be a supporter. My favorite thing to watch, though, is dance. I'm a big dance lover. I'm a huge fan of Mudra Dance, who is based here in Aurora, as well as Wonderbound. And then I actually serve on the board of the Art Students League of Denver. So while I have no visual arts experience personally, I love the visual arts, and I'm very proud to serve on the board of the Art Students League of Denver and get involved in that community as well.
Meredith, it was a joy to meet you and get to know you a little bit today. Your work is invaluable. Thank you for shining a light on this incredible asset that's important to our community, not only here in Aurora, but for our entire state. Thank you so much for your time and your advocacy, and it's been a pleasure to talk to you today.
My pleasure. Thank you for your work to shining a light on the amazing assets here in Aurora. As I said, I'm a big fan, and I do think the arts and culture community in Aurora is very special, has a lot going for it. And I just want to encourage people to visit Aurora, to support the arts and culture scene here. Bring your friends and family, and we will all do our part.
That was Meredith Badler, Deputy Director of the Colorado Business Committee for the Arts. Learn more at cbca.org. Thank you for listening to the Gateway to the Rockies podcast. Visit Aurora is the official destination marketing organization for the city of Aurora, Colorado, and acts as the primary liaison between meeting planners and hotel partners. As Aurora's Convention and Visitors Bureau, Visit Aurora's mission is grounded in showcasing Aurora as a premier destination for meetings, business, and leisure travel. Visit Aurora represents more than 75 plus hotel properties with 13,500 plus guest rooms and more than 1 million square feet of meeting space, including Colorado's largest resort, Gaylord Rockies Resort and Convention Center. As Colorado's third largest city, Aurora is located minutes away from Denver International Airport and showcases mountain views, memorable meeting spaces, and 250 plus international eateries that offer a unique experience for each and every visitor. As the Gateway to the Rockies, Visit Aurora's role in the local community goes beyond marketing the city as a destination. The Visit Aurora team is here to assist you with your Colorado visit, from facilitating your meeting, event, or convention to helping you discover local flavor and attractions. Go beyond the boardroom in Aurora, Colorado. For more, visit us at visitaurora.com.